evening, everybody. In this video, I'm going to discuss the few things of detoxification as well as some methods of shielding and some other useful tactics that you can use when you're dealing with this government program that seeks to both manipulate and hypnotize people on a daily basis, as well as the the torture that comes from directed energy weapons, and even the stress, which is the PTSD that comes from gaslighting. Now then, starting off, we've got dried seaweed. Whenever you're being hit with directed energy weapons, or whenever you're home, from time to time they will be pumping your home with radiation due to it can become not just from the direct energy attacks, but most likely from the Wi-Fi. They'll be channeling this stuff throughout your home and wherever else you end up going. They'll even have people, they'll even hijack people's Wi-Fi nodes to even do this as well. And of course, some people are aware that this happens, and they allow it to happen, possibly either being paid off to allow it to happen or whatnot. But a way to detoxify yourself from the radiation is dried seaweed. You can put that in whatever food you're cooking, and it will naturally detoxify that stuff that's in your body. Now, for the next thing, that's going to be aloe vera. Now, aloe vera comes in types of creams and stuff, but the problem is that's in your skin, and you don't want that to be absorbing into your skin. What you want is something that can absorb and channel the radiation out of you and out of your living space, and be able to have an extra use to it. So what I normally do is I would actually buy aloe vera plants, and I would always get the medicinal type, but they got to be adult plants. This will absorb the radiation that's inside your home, and not only will it normalize the temperature, right, but it would drain any radiation that's being directed to you whenever you're outside and into the plant. Problem is that you got to make sure you have the right equipment to take care of these plants. They don't require a lot of maintenance, but the thing is, you need the basic necessities such as sunlight and water. Water is okay usually, even if you're in an apartment, but the other problem is going to be sunlight, so you got to make sure you got that as well. Moving on. Now we've got shungite. Shungite has been known to neutralize electromagnetic frequencies. This also plays a part into this directed energy stuff, to where it does produce electromagnetic frequency. Now, whether it has any significant effects on radiation, I am not 100% certain. I do know that when it comes to this stuff, they try to radiate your living space due to the fact that as they're dumping the chem dumps out there, that stuff I believe it has something to do with the biofilm. So the biofilm is a type of fungus, but if you were to research different types of funguses and their growth rates, you would find out that as soon as you put a fungus under concentrated radiation, or even just radiation in general, its growth rate would actually speed up quite rapidly, actually. So it makes it, even if we detox and get this stuff off ourselves, it makes it quite difficult to keep it off, because they're going to obviously keep trying to re-poison us to keep us programmed into this on these machines, where they're extracting all of this data for all of this brain to interface technology. This human resonator, it is used to basically help block the low emissions, or should I say low, it's like, from what it says here, this says wave ultra low frequency pulse generator and audio resonator, resonance wave pulse generator with USB cable and screwdriver. So I suppose, this is another form of shielding, which reminds me of something before. Vulcan Wolverine did showcase this. He probably gives a better description what this thing does better than I can. But there was something else that was showcased on his channel a while back, and it was a type of USB stick that actually had the capabilities of blocking, I think it was, radiation from Wi-Fi or something. And you would it was pricey. It was really pricey, but it said it was supposed to block a lot of that stuff out. I noticed a few strange things that happened with that product. Amazon fully took it off, and like it was just marked as unavailable. They wouldn't even sell it anymore. I don't know if it was the manufacturer that took it off or what. I don't know. Like I said before, I suspect anything that is highly effective against their weaponized technology, they're probably going to slowly but surely go after that. So it's best to get what you can while you still can. Make sure you have it on a removable device or something like that, so you'll be able to have it for later uses. And that way you're not stuck without doing anything. Understand this. These internet service providers are highly invested into this program, whether it's even just from your local cable service or even just a cellular internet provider. It's still the same thing. All of these companies are invested in this program. Even though I'm showcasing Amazon products from Amazon, Amazon's also involved in this program and fully invested into it. So don't make that mistake either. There's a lot of companies are involved. Now there's this. A lot of people have used this, and a lot of people said that they haven't, had significant effects with it. Now I'm going to give you my experiences of using this because I got one myself. What I come to realize is it provides some form of shielding. It does, but the only problem is you got to make sure you're not only do you got to make sure you're washing this thing, because if you're not, think about it for a second. That biofilm grows. It can easily, just as well as grow around that thing, get a signal, and it's all of a sudden it's connected from the outside all the way to you, even regardless of the fact that there's a cap on your head. That isn't the only thing that I've come to realize about this. This thing can contain heat. That's right, heat. And as you know, that's where it gets to, that's where this product becomes problematic, because if it's building up heat, that's heating up your crown, and you don't want that. So I've come up with a solution against that. If you can find yourself a flattened enough ice pack, what you can do is put that underneath the cap and then leave it there. That way you can have, the ice pack on your head with the cap over it. You still got your shielding, but you also have a cooling unit to cool your head at the same time. Ice works really well when it comes to blocking a lot of this stuff out. Now, once you have that, you can, if you find a right size hat, you can also put that over that. And then now, if you can find one that's, like a casual hat that's made out of the right type of material. Usually I'd use a sun cap, like those ones that have the flips that it goes on, like that points out, but it's actually going all the way around it. I usually use those, kind of like a straw hat, but it's not really made out of straw. You should know what I'm getting at here. But I use those, and those seems to work pretty well. Robert Stanson, we've got many people out there making types of shielding and types of ways for people to protect themselves from this mess. We got Robert Stanson making those helmets and stuff. Not even just that, but other forms of shielding as well. You got Tony Pontilesco, who created the anti-nano bucket, and thank God for that. Really thank God for not just the Magneto helmet, but also for the anti-nano bucket, so we at least have a way to drain this crap out of our bodies. And then you got Mike Shabala, but the thing is, these are just single individuals. We got to get more and more people who are capable of creating shielding. That's going to become a big situation, as well as these perpetrators are poisoning us and programming us. I started thinking about a few things, and the fact of the matter is, there's still knowledge out there that can be used to combat this stuff. Biomagnetic healing for example, is one prime example. You can use that to heal the damage of which was done, to undo all that damage of which they did, which basically puts a complete cap on their BS to what they're doing to so many people. But the thing is, we need to be able to help each other out when it comes to this. Because if we can't help each other out and actually come together with unity, and instead of just allowing ourselves to be diverse through this whole divide and conquer movement, which the enemy wishes to push on the masses, who else will? Because the show is not going to be the enemy who's pushing for divide and conquer, that's for sure. Moving on. Next, we got something that has been mentioned to actually work pretty well. Now, understand whatever type of shielding you're using, they're going to crank up the weapons in order to try to get to you. Understand you could basically abandon everything and go off grid and say, screw this. Problem is, that's not going to stop them. You want to know why? Because of the simple fact that they get all that brain interface all of that data, all that brain data from you as a living test subject. And even though as effed up as that sounds, that's the reality of this. It is, they don't get that data from your currency. They don't get that data from whatever possessions you have. But they will sometimes try to screw around with stuff like that. But it's always, you ever notice how it's always coming back to you on how you're going to react, on how you're going to, what's going to happen? It's because of that. They do petty stuff like that to get that reaction out of you, to piss you off, to get you mad. When you act out, right, based off what they've done, that is what's helping them get that data. If it causes you to act out, they're gonna continue to do it. Whatever causes you to act out in a certain type of way. And the other problem is that we gotta acknowledge the fact that there has to be some secret hidden entertainment network that is highly involved in this. Can you imagine the amount of the appalled scandal if that got exposed, of people doing stuff like that, just screwing around with people's lives like that, with that whole that particular secretive entertainment? And I'm calling it for what it is, because it would have to be. There's so much surveillance going on. And the fact that they wanted to normalize drones in the sky, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't the case. But it's so effed up and so illegal. That's why they wanted to keep it hidden. But you best believe, as much as how bad that would be, it's something like that they don't want out. This is why they come up with these platforms such as Facebook, MySpace, and Facebook, MySpace is way since been dead, I guess. But then they come up with other platforms to replace those, such as TikTok and all those other things. And then when you look down the rabbit hole a little bit far enough, you find out that these are programs that are basically controlled opposition that's doing more harm than good. And I don't mean the people who are using it. I'm talking about the people who manage it. But anyway, stainless steel has been mentioned to be very effective on blocking these this stuff to quite a significant degree. Let me correct that. Now, plywood has also been known to block some of these direct energy weapons, right? But the thing is, and there has been a TI who actually showed this. I don't know, I can't remember what his channel's name is. But when I find it, I will, share a video of that with you all. But what he did was he showed the a piece of the plywood he had on this roof that he was using to block this stuff out, or whatever whatever direction they were hitting him at, and they were just beaming this weapon into that dang thing, man, just to get through it. They literally burned a freaking hole through the plywood, no joke. Now then, on to the next thing. I have used this, and it's little to no effect of it's little to no effect as far as it's blocking and stuff like that. I even bought underwear that was lined with stuff like that, and it didn't do me any good at all, man. It didn't. I tried, but it didn't do anything. Now, maybe it could be the amount of layering that could have something to do with it. Maybe you need extra layers of this, because if you look at the block rate with aluminum foil, you need around like 85 layers just to block this stuff, man. That's how much you need. So what if you would need extra layers of this? But the problem that I have with, you got to understand, even when it comes to the shungite and when it comes to this, there are people selling fake product online. So you got to bear that in mind too. Definitely always keep that in mind, that there are people out there who are selling fake products. And with you being a target individual, buying product from a compromised through a compromised trade system, I mean, what would you really expect? I mean, I'm just being realistic here. I'm not trying to, make anybody feel bad. I'm just stating the fact. Now, I have used copper before. It was it was semi-effective. It did help out a bit. It definitely did. And for the most part, I could say this was a lot more effective than this. A whole lot more. Now, the more layers of this you have, of course, the better off it's going to be. Maybe, the best thing you probably could do is actually try to get your clothing line with it, or like a jacket or something like that, right? Something like that would definitely come in handy. And I wanted to try to do something like that, but the thing is, not many people. So it's not that there aren't people out there who still do it, but there still is. But if I was to do that, I wanted to at least get this in enough layers to where it would work out a lot better than just with one sheet. But what I would normally do is I would lay this on top of a blanket whenever I was going to sleep, and it actually would work pretty well. Not very well, because understand, whatever type of shooting you use, they're going to be desperately looking for loopholes, vulnerabilities, places to where they can reconnect you. These individuals are making money off of the torture they are putting onto you. So they're going to keep trying to find ways to harm you, man. Now then, the people who have been asleep for so many years, they will believe the media, they believe what the media tells them they believe, by George Orwell. Now, if you want to know how backwards this stuff gets, I'm about to tell you. It's so backwards. People are saying, yeah, the jab is great. The jab is great. But hold on a minute. Why is the same news who have been outed for having the same script? Keep that in mind. The same news stations who have been outed and exposed for having the same script, and who have been said to own to a single company, although they're not legally, they ain't supposed to be like that. Why is it that these same people saying it's for your safety are getting advice from a guy who's preaching about depopulation? And it ain't even just him, it's other people. Why are they getting advice from people who are pushing for a new world order, which is linked to the cabal and linked to the secret societies, which is also linked with Satanism? Why? Why is it that there are people, and the thing is, people, please don't be confused by this stuff. I am talking about truthers here and whistleblowers. The life we were living before, that was not normal. None of that was normal. That time, everybody was asleep, and these secret societies were still active. They were still, some of us were still asleep while this stuff was going on, and we didn't know. Real normalcy is where you don't have infiltration of a secret society effing with everything. That's what true normal is. But the time when we ourselves were asleep, no. Because there were other people out there fighting against this, even when we weren't aware ourselves of just how bad it was. Trying to say, going back, people are confusing this to where, they're trying to say that that basically, it's not like I don't believe that they mean to say it like that, but I think that they make the mistake when they say, we're never going back to normal, when in reality, that was never normal either. And the fact of them coming out publicly with this stuff, it's not too much difference to this. The only difference was that they were more secretive about it. They still kind of are, but the thing is that it's become a lot more. They're trying to basically condition people to normalize things within society, such as Satanism. Some people wonder, like, why the F would that guy named Little Nas, X do what he did when it came to that music video, which I will not watch, by the way. No, thank you. First off, I'm gonna go ahead and expose the narrative. They get this guy up. They build up his fan base, right? They build up this little bastard's fan base. What do they do then? Oh, I'll tell you. They get him to make that video with Satan in it. They get him, and even before then, they get him to do all of this questionable stuff. All of this questionable stuff. The whole, and this guy did do the whole transgender situation. He apparently, when I looked a little bit farther into that mess, I seen something I regretted seeing, and never again. I will never look into that situation again after what I saw. But what they do is they get him a big enough fan base. Then they get him to make a video, but before the video, they get him to act out all of these questionable things. Then they get him to make a video of the Satanists, of having Satan in there, giving him a lap dance and stuff. I'm only know parts of this just because of me watching the, Call for an Uprising video. And then they have Nike sue him for money. And then they got him on social media, Lil Nas X on social media, trying to vent his frustrations, trying to say how sad he is, how depressed he is, to get people in a state of shame and feeling sorry for the guy, and in a form of conditioning people to Satan, to satanic stuff, man. To get them to just ignore the fact that the guy made that video. First off, I'm going to go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Nike has promoted a guy who actually came out with shoes that had Illuminati symbolism all over. And this was a freaking basketball player. So, you see how weird that is? They promote a shoe of a basketball player with Illuminati symbolism all over it. The one eye symbolism and stuff like that. It took it a step worse. He even had the spiral in there too. No joke. He had the one eye in there, the spiral in there, and all that stuff, man. All of that. And he probably wasn't even the only one. This was Nike that done it. And I always question things like, why the F are people so addicted to Nike shoes? Why are people so addicted to Jordans? Why is that? Because it's a form of hypnosis. It's a normalized form of hypnosis that is passed down from one generation to the next due to the fact that so many people are addicted to a thing that is not even worth as much as they're even paying for it. It makes no sense at all, man. It doesn't. If you look at the actual cost of how much it actually costs to make those damn shoes, you would be, you spent your money, and I would feel just as stupid as much as the next person. I did spend my money on a pair of Jordans before. I did spend my money on a pair of Nikes before. Never again. I destroyed whatever Nike equipment I had, whatever Jordan equipment I had, I destroyed it and threw it in the trash and never looked back. And even now, I don't even regret that decision. I will never wear trash like that again. I will never wear anything that's in the symbolization of Satan. No, I refuse. The thing is, they know they can't just bring this stuff out there like that, man. So they trying to condition people to actually be in a more acceptance of it. They want to normalize this crap by putting it in the cartoons. They want to normalize it by, trying to confuse people. And for them to go ahead, you see how this works? They won't let anybody in on the whole real nature of this stuff, on what's really going on, which is behind closed doors. But on the surface, they try to make it seem, and it is not innocent, man. It is not in any way, shape, or form. And even worse, as you're growing up, they try to configure you into something that you're not. This is informed through forms of peer pressure. You find yourself going through this in as early as elementary. This doesn't happen in kindergarten because it's, as far as whatever memories I got left of that, I don't recall anybody acting like that at that age. No one really give a damn about that. It was mostly just about the toys and the cartoons and stuff, and that was about it. But as soon as you're like in elementary, as soon as you're in high school, that's when it starts. That's when people start questioning your sense of character, your sense of individuality, where they try to convert you into something you're not. I don't mind trying new things as long as I'm not breaking the law, as long as I'm not hurting anybody and not hurting myself. But the thing is that I will be damned if I, just because of the color of my skin, I'm not going to be conditioned into something. I'm not going to be conditioned into a certain type of music. I'm not going to be conditioned into just a singular norm that just because, everybody else does it, I'm supposed to be doing it too? I don't think so. No, I'm going to live life based on my interest. If I want to, if there's certain types of music I like, regardless of what genre or what ethnicity is that created that music, that doesn't matter. It's the fact that if I like the music and it's good, that's all that matters. But keeping in mind, I reject everything and all that is satanic. They're wicked, man. They are wicked. They sneak that stuff, trying to normalize it in society. And even it's so bad that they've done this with a lot of the things we see on a daily basis. It's everywhere. And it's like, what the F, man? What the F? And the thing is that, look, if that's what those people want to do, leave everybody else the hell out of it. Go do your crap and keep it amongst the people who are into that, and keep it the hell away from Christians, keep it the hell away from everybody else. But they will not do that. No, they won't do that. They never will. They depend on others, whether it's a psychopath or even a narcissist or even a Freemason. They depend on others because they need a society in order to elevate themselves above that society. They need something to act as an, I don't want to say act as an anchor. I'd say act as like support, like of elevation or whatever. Who else would run all those machines? Who else would drive all these things and mess around with? Why do you think they want to put everything in control of a robot now? Whether it's a car, whether it's even sorting in factories. Why do you think they are constantly trying to take away all of these jobs? And why do you think the reason why the job market is so effed up is because they kept replacing all of these jobs with machines. The thing is, don't you think a human being would need a job a lot more than a freaking machine? And why are people replacing these jobs with machines? Because of greed. Because of greed. They don't care about anybody else's well-beings but their own. And this selfishness is going to be the downfall of mankind if it continues. Now, remember, these individuals out there who try to convert you into something that you don't wish to be, something that you're not, and then even when you refuse and you put your foot down saying, I will not be converted into your sadistic ideology. For me, the way my viewpoint of all of their bullshit is I am beyond their narcissistic ideology. Again, I am beyond their narcissistic ideology. Or should I say, I am beyond their petty narcissistic ideology. That's probably even better. Now, how to be your true self. In a society that worships fakeness, understand that people will basically spend crap tons of money on things that they don't need in order to impress people who probably aren't even giving them genuine responses to what they've done. Now a lot of guys make the mistake by doing this when it comes to females, but the problem is that that's creating a generation of suckers. That's creating a generation of people who are doing that for either sexual favors or just for attention or just to get noticed. And the problem with that is that it screws around with the natural stability of relationships. This is a cause and effect on both ends. It's not a single person's fault. It's a problem on both ends. And this is why I don't want to have nothing to do with dating, because this becomes so damn toxified. Everything is, it's been configured to where it's money related. Everything has to have something to do with money. And it's like, it's like some people don't realize, the destruction of that, like how much of a toll that has an effect. I may be a MGTOW, but I am still a MGTOW with some morals. I at least think back to how society itself is being destroyed, man. And it isn't even just that, it's just like how far, it's calmed down as a result. And over the times as I was growing up, I realized that whenever I was just trying to be myself in the midst of all this chaos, people would try to find excuses to change me. And I'm just like, no. They would try to find excuses for you to date somebody. They would try to find excuses for you to be with somebody like it's a mandatory thing. It's just, to them, it's just so unnatural for a person to actually want to be single. And the thing is not everybody's interested in romance, dude. There is a such thing as some people that just, are just comfortable, with their lives in certain circumstances. But now you got to understand, again, that technology that exists out there, the enemy wants depopulation. If we don't have kids, it doesn't want us having kids. And if we do have kids, it wants to control and manipulate and basically hypnotize those kids into whatever social standards that fits their interests. If I ever bring kids into this world, I'll be damned if I let that happen. I will give that kid, or should I say my own children, the knowledge of which they can use to defend themselves, in the true knowledge which will actually benefit them, so they can cultivate that intelligence and be able to pass that on to whatever children they have in their futures. But we have to fight for that. We have to be able to fight for our future, God is going to be on our side, but he's not going to God's not going to be there to just hold our hands. We got to be able to push forward. We got to be able to do things. This is where we take a stand and actually make things possible. There are ways to detoxify this crap out of the body. We take that and we cultivate that information and we spread it out to as many people so they can do the same for themselves, their families, their loved ones, so that they don't have to be victims of this damn program. If there's ways that we can heal the damage that's been done to people, such as the PTSD, the hypnosis, I've even looked up into methods of dealing with that. If hypnosis can be used to cause great harm to a person, and I do mean the person who's being hypnotized, what if you can use that same technology to undo which was done? What if you can use that to undo hypnotic suggestions? Not just that. There's methods of dealing with PTSD. There's rife frequencies. There are many methods out there that can be used to heal. The problem is, and you best believe, there are some things out there that are so great and so effective against this mess that they do, that they probably went out of their way trying to make it illegal to prevent people from even using it. Just look at how marijuana got made illegal. But why? They're saying, it damages your brain cells. But what if a person just, it's a person giving consent if that's the case, technically that's still a person giving consent to do that. They are basically comfortable with doing that to themselves. It's not like they're basically offing themselves, right? I mean, you could say the same thing about alcohol, but that's legal, is it not? Alcohol is supposed to do some great harm. A person can die from alcohol poisoning, but people still drink it. But why did they made marijuana illegal? Because it was a huge problem for certain factors that were making money. Timber industry being one of them. Now, why did some people who made cars that could run off of water and hydrogen oxide, why did those people die due to mysterious circumstances? Because that made complications for the oil industry. That made complications for the automobile industry for certain factors that other companies made all their cars with the need to have gasoline. That made issues for the gasoline companies. Do you see how much of a huge hit they would have done to so many companies? These people who mysteriously died of circumstances, who made inventions that would have helped humanity, like really helped out, they were taken out because what they've done pose such a huge threat to the enemy. This is why they pick us off one by one. They can't do that shit to a group of people who's united. They can't do that. It's impossible. This is why they want people as a society to be divided. This is why they use divide and conquer in every aspect you can think of. They want people to bicker amongst other people. They want people to pick fights. They want people to be at each other's throats. They want all this violence to happen along with the masses. Why they do all of these dastardly deeds, all of these despicable things behind the scenes. Now, how to be yourself in a society that worships fakeness. Number 1, develop self-awareness. Number 2, stop pretending or imitating other people. Accept your imperfections. Don't depend on others for validation or self-worth. Understand that you yourself define yourself based off your actions and based off your viewpoints. You, as and within your own standing, is the very definition of your character. Number 5, be vulnerable with yourself. Number 6, accept all your ugly parts, such as all your faults, everything that's ever been wrong for you. But accept your limitations, but don't let that stop you to strive for something greater. Don't let that stop you from ever trying to strive to push your limits. But of course, the enemy's gonna have its goons out there trying to, convert your reality into whatever fits their interests. This is the same thing what goes on with narcissists. They want to control everything and construct the reality of things to where their faults and their problems are transparent, and vice versa. The person of which they are perpetrating on, their faults are completely shown, right? And it's always made in public view, and it's always pointed out. Like, oddly, almost every 5 minutes is pointed out. And it makes you wonder why. Why? But when the reverse ever happens and people see the faults in a narcissists cannot deal with stuff like this. They don't have the capacity to deal with it. The very biggest enemy of a manipulative nature or a manipulative person is tenacity. Having tenacity gives you a really good solid defense against such things, for you're being very unpredictable, and also as long as you're using it right, you may even be able to actually read the manipulative person's motives in what they're doing, which therefore undoes their gaslighting, basically renders it useless. But you must not allow yourself to depend on this too much and allow yourself to run freely, as the manipulative person will try to find a way to use that against you. Always question reality to change your destiny into the perspective of what you want and not someone else's. And for those of you who are still asleep, if you're reading this, you've been in a coma for almost a decade. There are people out there trying a new technique. We don't know where this message will end up in your dream, but we hope we are getting through. Please wake up. And this is a message from me to you. I pray that a lot of people will be able to wake up soon, so that we can finally put an end to all of this. But understand, the only way this is going to end, the only way any of this is going to end, is not going to be by a nation that's divided. It's only going to be by a nation that is together, that is working together to help thy fellow man, thy fellow woman, help thy fellow neighbor, and not, and just basically put all this pettiness aside, put all this toxified ideology aside, and throw it in the gutter where it belongs. That's what it's going to take. But the thing is, there's only so much we can do on our own, but together we can make miracles happen. We can do quite a lot together. That I definitely have confidence in believing in. Now, on ending this video, but there's a few things I need to mention. There are several other PSYOP events that happened that I don't know if a lot of people realized or not. And this is related to the towers of 5G. And this is also related to the whole incident of what happened at the Capitol during that whole Donald Trump situation. Okay. I'm going to start off with the towers. They used the fear of the towers of 5G in order to get away with attacking the lower grade devices, such as, you know, the technology that wasn't 5G. I'm talking about towers that were 4, maybe 3, heck, maybe even 2Gs. And these were the tower. This was a psychological operation to where these towers were being burned down. It wasn't a 5G tower. None of them, barely any of them were. Possibly, maybe even not a single one. And that doesn't surprise me, which also makes it very suspicious. These were lower grade towers that were targeted so that people who owned them would be able to profit off of the insurance money. Okay? So that's out of the way. Do you think that they honestly sat there and downgraded to a lower tech tower as a result? I don't think so. All those towers were replaced with 5G towers as a result of what happened. That's obvious. Now, there has been known that some of these 5G towers have been disguised as trees. Why? Why would that be the case, I wonder? Now I'm going to get into the situation with Trump. The situation with that whole Capitol situation is that that was an orchestrated event. They did that because, they wouldn't be able to pull that off anywhere else. And they shouldn't have been able to pull it off there, but it was allowed to happen. Why, though? And I'm going to tell you, the reason why it was allowed to happen, is because they wanted an excuse to have boots on the ground to be able to lock away the White House behind barred gates. And didn't you notice that they have just that during Biden's inauguration? Yeah, that was the excuse for that. Now, usually whenever it came to scenarios like this, people would overthrow the White House. I'm not advocating anything, I'm just speaking hypothetically. But usually that's what would happen, and it's even written in the Constitution to where, like, if there is a government out there that is not looking out for the people and only its own selfish interests, and it's actually, not only is it looking out for its own selfish interests, it is treading over people's rights as a result of its behavior, then they are supposed to be abolished. They're supposed to be thrown out of office. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. Has that happened yet? No. That election was obviously stolen. There's no doubt about that. Whether anybody wants to really believe, there are people out there who are so convinced that that's not the case. I don't know what to really, I don't know what to really tell them. I honestly believe they may be just that fully, hypnotized into believing such things. But when you see the videos that shows the natures of these people, why do they not question that? That's my question. People made a video based off Biden, and it showcased all of that, and then it's like they never even seen it, and they don't question it. And I don't know why. I really don't know. Maybe that's part of the mind manipulation, and I wouldn't be surprised if it is. Because first thing and foremost, they are constantly poisoning these skies. They are constantly spraying these skies with whatever compounds of these chem dumps that's in there. And I saw the first giveaway of this stuff, even though the news didn't practically call it out for what it was. They tried to, hide it a bit. There was a video, and I have it posted on my other channel. And I was wondering, because there's no way the government can just sit there and try to patent natural resources such as rainwater. That's not possible, right? That can't be, because technically it's everywhere, And they can't, someone can easily just collect that way out of somewhere. They can't keep track of all of that. No. So apparently there was this man that started collecting rainwater, and he was in he was in the cities and whatnot, and he was doing this. I can't recall if he was in. I don't think he worked for the fire company. I could be wrong. I don't know, but he was collecting rainwater, and apparently he got fined for it, saying you're not allowed to collect the government's water, the government's rainwater. I'm like, wait a minute, how did they, I don't think they can own the rainwater, and I don't think they can patent the rainwater either. However, what about the stuff that they've been putting out there in the skies? What about that junk that they've been putting out there? What if they have, I bet you whatever that junk is patented. And I bet you they don't want nobody flying up there getting a sample of that stuff after it's been doused out. Oh, have someone down below, just wait. Wait for the mofos to go ahead and spray that crap out. And we're going to fly up there, get a sample of that crap, bring it down, test it side by side by actual vapor, and see if these jackasses are telling the truth. If it ain't vapor, these assholes are lying. These assholes are lying if it ain't vapor. So, has that ever happened? I bet you it probably has, but they got sights on that and they did not let it happen. They wouldn't. They probably never will let someone do that. But the thing is, if anybody wanted to expose the lie, that they've been throwing around trying to claim that stuff is vapor, that's all you would have to do. All you would have to do is have a buddy down on the ground filming everything, waiting for some, if they're usually putting out chem dumps somewhere, right? Have someone with a catching unit tied to a plane fly that bastard up in the sky, get the sample while everything is being filmed, bring it down where everything is being tested on camera, and it's never edited. Probably even be better if you could do it live, but if you do it live, they'll probably catch on to that, and they'll probably get pretty pissed off about that. I wouldn't doubt that at all. But you see, that alone would prove it. That alone would prove it without a doubt. Because if you caught that stuff, and that's what's coming out of a plane, the question is, why are they spraying that? Because that's getting into the oxygenation. That's everybody in the neighborhood breathing that now. That's people's kids, their grandparents, themselves that are breathing all that junk. That people's newborn babies and stuff breathing that crap. Their pets. Come on now. That's all it would take. I am working on a few projects. They are not currently finished, and I am not currently ready to show them yet. But one of the older projects I was working on, I decided to try and go ahead and finish that. Designed it a bit differently this time, and I do have a different power source for it this time as well. So that should, come in handy later on. I also wanted to showcase you all some enhancements that you could use for your anti-nano bucket to make it more effective. But I guess to give you a prime example, if let's say you've already got the bucket, you've already got the AC to DC adapter, and you already got the coil wrapped around the bucket itself, right? This is what you need to do. Get yourself a high frequency generator and connect that to the AC to DC adapter, and then you can connect the other end of that high frequency generator to the copper coil, which will make that barrel, or should I say, barrel or bucket, a lot more effective than it is now. The project that I'm currently working on is kind of similar, but a heck of a lot more powerful, and with a heck of a lot more kick to it than that. A whole lot. Let's see, there's something else I wanted to go over, but I can't seem to recall what it is. And also keep in mind, that's not the only, like I said before, that's not the only project I'm working on. If you're hearing any type of noise in the background, that's the Chaos tone playing. I gotta play that because if I don't, well, what you're being hit with frequencies and whatnot. It causes suggestive thought patternizations, which is not you. It's from a automated machine due to the biofilm and the signal fibers that grow off of that, as well as the electrical magnetic frequencies you're being beamed with through directed energy, as well as the radiation that basically comes off from that as well, where it's whatever that stuff is piggybacking on. If you ever, I'm going to leave a link in the description to a video from SHP's channel. She does go into some really significant discussions and talking about shielding methods and some things you can do to where you can even make yourself a safe room. Problem is, keep in mind, you are to never bring electronic devices in that room. Not a phone, doesn't matter what it is. Don't bring no electronics in there at all. For the simple fact of is that, whatever these frequencies are being beamed off from these devices, or whatever it is, right? These that's coming from these things, they gotta have somewhere to go. And if you're in a room like that, it's just gonna be bouncing around everywhere. And you don't want to be in a room that's gonna have that stuff just bouncing around, because it's gonna be hitting you repeatedly, basically. So yeah, you definitely want to avoid that. It's supposed to protect you, not harm you, right? I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave this video off there. Didn't want to make this way too long. Looks like we're hitting around 51 minutes, which is not too bad. So anyway, in closing, remember, stay strong with positivity and stay fierce against negativity.